Hello there everyone, this is Folpolitik YouTube channel. We talk about political news and interesting news all over the world. So, we will discuss something that has been fired up, a discussion between the new atheist movement and the progressive left. So the thing is about Islam, of course. Everybody knows about that. So I want to discuss the new atheist perception of Islam. In generally, the perception of the new atheist movement is fairly correct. In general terms, like the perception that they have about all the religions, that the religions in many ways are false, and they create big problems about for the humans, that they follow this kind of religions, and they have a very negative role in their life and in their societies. But the new atheist movement see Islam, the Islamic religion, Muslim religion, as a key element in radicalization of Middle Eastern societies, an aggravator of modern Islamic terrorism in the Middle East and of course all over the world. In my opinion, this is wrong, because you cannot attribute the things that they happened in the last 30 years, like Bill Maher say in his last show in the TV. You cannot attribute it all to this religion all alone. For example, let's see the terrorist organizations of that they say that they are the advocates of this religion. So we have, for example, Boko Haram in Nigeria. We have Al-Shabaab in Somalia. We have Egyptian Islamic Jihad. This is actually one of the oldest, let's say, terrorist, radical Islamist groups. That leader of this group was Al-Zawahiri. That after this organization was merged with Al-Qaeda. And the leader of Al-Qaeda, of course, then was Osama bin Laden, and now it's Al-Zawahiri, the number 2 of Al-Qaeda. Or the Islamic State in Libya, for example. These all organizations understand that they are from Africa. And in other episode, we will discuss about our other terrorist groups, and we will see how. But it will be another episode. So, and all these are from Africa. Of course, there are other terrorist Islamic organizations that they are in Europe, in Asia, even to, I don't know, Philippines, in Indonesia, or wherever. Also the phenomenon of the lonely wolves, not a big organization, how you say it, like Al-Qaeda, for example. Lonely wolves, like the two brothers that they attack the Charlie Hebdo newspaper in Paris, or like the Chernaev brothers in Boston Marathon in the USA, that they haven't have behind them a big organization or something like that. Of course, this without taking the conspiracy theories that some big bad guy, like, I don't know, Obama, like secret Muslim gay Nazi, that it is founded or advocate or help them to do attacks or something like that. One conspiracy theory actually that maybe it was true is that Saudi Arabia in some way it was behind all this action, and there actually maybe have some truth in that, but we will discuss it in another episode. So, of course, there exist other small terrorist cells, not even a group, how can you say it, like those that attack in Spain, for example, the trains or the buses in London. So, for all this is to blame Islam as a faith on its own. And I have something essentially that there is something essentially different for Islam have from other religions, and that is that the Quran endorse and advocate for the claims of an Islamic terrorist group that they are the true interpretation of the Quran. What this X group will made of will do an attack or something like that. So the base of this attack and this behavior, it's of the attack in the Quran, in whatever the Quran teaches, and this religion and the Hadith and everything, all of that teaches about Islam. But the problem is, like we saw, like what I said before, is that all of these groups, they are no older than the 40 or 50 years old, and the oldest of those groups that I say before, it's this the Egyptian Islamic Jihad, that actually was an outcast group that they get out from the Muslim Brotherhood before that it was in Egypt. But we will discuss and for that in another episode. There is something, of course, Boko Haram, Al Shabaab, and all those groups, and Al Qaeda, and Islamic State in Libya, for if we will talk about Africa only. So all these groups are very new generally. So there have to be something that create that the last 30 and 40 years those groups were activated. What it was something that happened that give the reason for all the groups to be activated or to create generally from the beginning. So if we want to search the truth, let's say, or not the truth, but generally the reasons why those groups were created and what this phenomena exists, we have to see that something has changed in generally in the Middle East. If we take it from very old, I don't say very old because it is not so long, but we have the creation of the State of Israel, for example. This is one reason. And the other reasons are many different, but we were talking about these years. And in these years, the problem and what has aggravated, and it was beginner for all these groups, I believe that it was the intervention of the US military force generally in the Middle East. That was one of the reasons I believe that all these groups now they emerge and do whatever they do. But yes, this is, I believe, a key element of all these groups. And before Iraq, of course, you have Afghanistan, that the Americans, the CIA in particular, they founded and they helped this kind of groups like the Mujahideen in Afghanistan, and these guys later they became the Taliban, and some of them the Al Qaeda. So all these things, it show us something. If it was Islam at its own, the religion as it is, why these kind of groups didn't exist 100 years before, for example? You had imperialist occupation of Muslim countries, but you don't have some groups like that. You had of course revolutions or movements that they were anti-imperialistic, anti the Western intervention in their countries, but you don't have the thing like this, the Islamic terrorism as exists today. This is, I believe, clearly, it is clearly about the intervention of the US and the West generally. Of course, we don't you don't need to forget, of course, the role that the European countries play in these issues. So if you think about Syria, you have to think that also France, it was very energetic in bombing Assad or to have a more aggressive behavior from NATO and the other countries to overthrow Assad, because as it is known, Syria was a colony of France, and I don't know why, but France maybe think that it's morally obligated to continue to play this role. I don't know how and why. And of course, these movements, these Islamic movements and terrorist groups, has nothing to do with generally anti-imperialistic revolutions. For example, like in Iran, for example, that the majority of the people, and the thing is that the majority of the organizers and the groups that organize protests and things like that against the Shah was something like a king. He take anti-democratically, he throw a democratically elected government, and he declared himself a king. He declared himself. He was from family like that, but he had the support of the Americans, of course, and this is why the people revolted and came down to demonstration and things like that. But the majority of the people that organize this demonstration, like I said before, they were secular people. The majority of them, they were leftists, communists, and different nationalities, of course, like Arabs, Kurds, because in Iran they are Persians, they are not Arabs. They have a minority of Arabs and Kurds and others. And yes, many of them they were Marxist, Leninist, liberals, nationalists, like we said. They even had some guy, I think he was a Persian nationalist, and he had Iranian National Front. He borrowed this from ideology of the National Front from France, because many Persians were very well educated, and they had studied abroad in France and England and states like that. Of course, the thing, except the intervention of the US in the Middle East all this time, all those years, it has to do with something else, a political decision that the US took in the Cold War, in the time of the Cold War, and this decision was to increase and to help of becoming more mainstream or something like this, the Wahhabi Salafi ideology. Wahhabi ideology of Islam is the more strict Sunni, let's say, ideology that is official in Saudi Arabia. In Saudi Arabia, the religion is the mainstream religion, let's say, it's Wahhabi Sunni Islam. Very strict, very they cut head of someone that he was accused about sorcery or something like that, or if you are a thief they cut your hand and things like that. So this ideology, it was a political decision of the US to expand this ideology. And why to expand this? Because as I say before, it was the Cold War, and they believed that the communism or whatever the independent Muslim majority countries in North Africa or the Arabian Peninsula, it will create a wall, this Wahhabi Salafi Islamist, against the communists and against the liberals and against the leftists or something like that. And the thing is that, like Nasser in Egypt, they were a combination between socialists and Arabian nationalists. Don't conflict this with national socialism, other thing. But yes, in Egypt, in other countries of this region, this was the ideology. This was the ideology that created the Ba'ath movement that we see today. Bashar al-Assad is from the Ba'ath party, like Saddam was in Iraq. And this is the reason that the Saudis hate it so much, and Saddam and Bashar al-Assad today, and they give all the money to the terrorists to overthrow him. Why? Because he is a secular leader and propose this kind of socialist, let's say, an Arab nationalist ideology that the Ba'athist movement had. But yes, as we say, the Americans has decided this, and not only in the Arab world, let's say, or the Middle East, but also in Afghanistan, like we said before, by giving money to the Mujahideen. What Mujahideen means is holy warrior. So yes, Donald Reagan and other American presidents give money to Muslims that they call themselves holy warriors. That's laughable. And one other funny thing is that one delegation of the no Talibans, they were not called at that time Taliban, but the Mujahideen. One delegation of them went to the White House. Reagan say to them, "When I see you guys, you are the equivalent of the founding fathers of the USA." This guy Ahmed is Jefferson, the other is, I don't know, Washington. Idiotic things of Reagan like that. But they were so fanatical against the Soviet Union and against, let's say, the Red Scare, the communists and things like that, that yes, they prefer to help and to give arms and money and things in radical Islamic organizations just to fight against Soviets and things like that. And the other thing is, not only in Afghanistan, but many they don't mention that, but if you study a little bit the story of the history of Indonesia. Indonesia is the country with the biggest Muslim population in the world, but in the 70s, 60s, and 80s, it had a very strong communist party, and actually Indonesia had the communist party with the most members in the world. I think they were 5 million registered members of the Communist Party of Indonesia. And with the help of radical Islamists, the CIA, of course, it was behind that. Sukarno, I think, or Sukarto, it was. Yes, they outlawed. One was, let's say, a good guy, another he was a bad guy. Was more radical Islamic, things like that. They outlawed the Communist Party, and not only they outlawed it, but they massacred the I think 2 millions, 1 million, something like that, communists. And the guys that they do things like that, they were extreme Muslims. So again, the US prefer to help and aggravate this Islamic extremism in order to fight, in their opinion, against the socialist and communist threat and things like that. And yes, of course, this is how those situations are different, and this is, I believe, one of the reasons of the extreme and most radicalization of Islam, because it was in interest at that time, or they think so, of the US politic. So we have two things that happen in the right time, in the right timeline, with a gradually destabilization of the region. Of course, if you want to see how it was Iraq, for example, or generally the Middle East in 70s, you can see video that even Afghanistan, you will see girls with mini and don't have a hijab and things, very modernized guys sitting around drinking beers, whatever. And but with the beginning of the spreading of the Salafi Wahhabi ideology from Saudi Arabia to the other countries, and this is the problem here. Saudi Arabia doesn't do that only in the Muslim, let's say, world. They don't do this in only, let's say, Jordan or Egypt or I don't know, Bangladesh, Pakistan or something like that. But it's today they open religious schools or madrasas, how the fuck do they pronounce? Yes, in Germany, in US, in France, in all over the world, for the spreading of this ideology of the Wahhabi Islam. In one other episode, we talk about what is Wahhabi Islam and what is this ideology. And gradually in the region, the spreading of Wahhabi ideology from Saudi Arabia, with the indifference or even the support of the US, like we said before, to this ideology. And all this because of the antagonism of the Cold War, using it as another weapon against the communist and generally leftist or even the independent tendencies of the Arab world, with like Nasser and things like that. Of course, this is one of the reasons that I don't believe that the new atheist points that when they talk about Islam, they are so simple. Like some Harris want to advocate that yes, we know why they are like this. They are like this because they are like this. But it was never clear for me at last, for me, that the things were like that. For example, in the last interview of Sam Harris with David Rubin in the Rubin report, he say that the key goal of Islam is the eradication of extermination of all Jews or something like that, because he reads something about from one hadith that he say when the last tree or the last rock or something like that will scream, "This Jew is behind me, try to hide, and you have to kill him." And I hear this also from one Muslim imam, that he read this hadith, so it's not strange to me. I have heard it, but the thing is, what is I don't remember by reading, because I like very much history. By reading history, I found never, of course, this is exaggeration, but it's very difficult to find something like the Muslims or Islamic caliphates like the Ottoman Empire or things like that. They handed down Jews because of the Islamic faith. No, the problems that I have seen, they are beginning from 45, the major problems, and escalated by the escalation that the West and Israel, of course, opposed to these countries. I don't understand why you have to overthrow a secular, let's say, okay, dictator, but you have dictators all over. You have in Myanmar, in Burma. You have you want to overthrow a dictator or despot or something like that. You can do it in Bahrain. But why you don't do it in Bahrain? Because you have interest. Because you are with the Saudis and you want to expand this stupid, sorry, this ideology, this Wahhabi Salafi ideology. So the thing is that they're not in that way because they are in that way. You have some. It's chronological. Look it out. Where was Boko Haram? Where were Al Shabaab? Where was Islamic State? Where was Al Qaeda? When they created? Why they created in that time? Who played a key role to create this kind of ideologies in this time? So this is what I think about these things. This is a 25 minutes video, so I have to end it here. And this is what I don't think that the new atheist movement, they have right about this thing. So let's see. Okay, I hope you enjoy this, and we'll see you soon. Cheers, bye.